Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE Smackdown every Friday night after the bell. But today is a special day. We're doing it on a Saturday afternoon instead. My name is John Zendel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
It's a few hours later than we'd normally do this, but hey, we got some natural light in the room here, so why not? Let's have some fun with it. John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from SmackDown for August 9th?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And the lead is Roman Reigns in the main event. Returns, and during his return, Solo Sikoa interacts with Roman Reigns and the bloodline. There's a big schmaz, a big beat up fest, and Roman Reigns ends up standing tall. Pretty standard boilerplate guy returning sort of main event here. Um, what did you think of the main event?
Well, you said pretty standard boilerplate for a big star returning. Uh, let's go into maybe some of the details that make the bloodline confrontation special. Um, Solo, of course, wears the tribal chief necklace, the head of the table necklace that apparently at one point maybe Roman Reigns gave to him and then didn't like how Solo was running things. So now Roman's back. Solo, of course, wears this, but in the physicality with Roman and Solo, it gets knocked off of Solo's neck, and it's just sitting there in the middle of the ring. And at one point, where Roman clears the ring of everybody, he notices it's sitting there on the mat. He slowly walks over, looks at it, so that everybody in the crowd tells what he could tell what he's looking at, can tell what he's doing. And he very slowly bends over, leans down to pick it up. And that's when Tama Tonga recovers and hits him from behind. And then by that point, Tonga Loa recovers and he joins in. And now they're able to at least get that necklace back to Solo Sikoa, who in the cowardly fashion is out of the ring at this point. He puts on his necklace. He's backpedaling up the ramp while the two Tongas get the crap kicked out of him by Roman Reigns. And, Solo Sikoa is talking all tough way back at the entrance. Roman Reigns is just glaring at him. They did not give Roman a mic yet. So Roman's not cutting promos.
No.
He did not cut a promo at the pay-per-view either. He did not do that at SummerSlam. It's all been nonverbal communication so far from Roman Reigns. And it's working.
Mm-hmm.
Roman is there, and you can tell by his body language and by what he does and who he interacts with and how he interacts with him, what he's doing. So Roman hasn't had to cut a promo yet. His actions are speaking for him. At this early stage of this bloodline versus bloodline confrontation, do you think they built it well, and do you think this is a good way to present it in its most nascent stage of the process?
Yeah, I think it's fine what they're doing. It's bloodline stuff. It's going to be more storyline driven than wrestling driven. And because it's more storyline driven, they have some very simple things to follow along with, like what that tribal chief red thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's not like a belt, but it kind of is the belt because it signifies who the leader is.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're really liking like a little simple symbolism now in WWE with that thing.
Mm-hmm.
The friendship bracelet they did with Drew McIntyre and CM Punk.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So
this is cooler than the friendship bracelet, right?
yeah. I like that better than the friendship bracelet. But yeah, so this has been kind of obvious, or not obvious. They've done a good job setting it up, I'd say, and making it like the correct direction ahead with them. The crowd really is taking to Roman as a face. Like, this is the face. This is what they wanted before.
Mm-hmm.
When they tried to make him a face, and then the crowd was rejecting it. Now the crowd is accepting it. Um, so it's interesting to see him come through as a face. And there was some initials on his shirt that the crowd was chanting.
Yes, OTC.
OTC. They were
Mhm.
OTC. So he's already got the chant too. Um, I saw this with uh, what's it called? AEW as well. They gave um, Mercedes Monet, aka Sasha Banks, they
Mhm.
call her the CEO, and then they
Yep.
have CEO in her song, and they have CEO all over like her gear. So the crowd just chants CEO. They're like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, this is what we got to chant. So
Yeah, it's the standard 3 staccato syllables.
yeah,
You know, because it's rhythmic. It's like the opening of Queen's "We Will Rock You." You know, stomp, stomp, clap, stomp, stomp, clap, stomp,
oh,
stomp, clap. Like that's the rhythm. RKO,
hmm
OTC, CEO,
hmm
LA Knight. That's why he did it. Before that, his name was Eli Drake.
yeah,
Same thing. There's those 3 staccato syllables. Yep. Yeah, OTC, original tribal chief. They're already selling the merch. Roman
yeah.
Reigns might be at the top of the merchandise again, you know.
No, it's cool. I like it. I actually am really looking forward to it because I don't know where there's a lot of question marks. Like, where's Heyman going? Is Heyman going to turn face? Is he going to be a part of it? He must be a
Yep.
part of it. And then, like, oh, where are we going to see The Rock again? Um, Jay and
Jimmy
Jimmy
and Jay.
Uso,
Yep.
they'll be included as well. Um, I know that they put the tag titles on the other two Bloodline members to try to keep them as strong as possible, but
Yep.
um, so
They look strong too. I mean, it's not like they're putting the titles on them and people are going, "Oh, these guys aren't champs." Like
yeah,
Tamatanga and Jacob Fatu, who they're playing up an injury on guy. I don't know if he was really injured at SummerSlam, but they played up the commentators mentioned it, and he was not there at all on screen tonight at any point. So
yeah,
Jacob Fatu's not there. Tongaloa wearing the eye patch. I don't know if that's a real injury or not, but you know, he looks like I don't want to say a pirate. He looks like Kramer in that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer starts wearing the eye patch because it's
yeah.
cool. You know, so
No, no. I would actually say I would go as far as to say he's trying to look like a pirate because he's an eye patch. It's just not the eye patch thing. They look like pirates. I'm sorry. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I like the direction it's headed in, and Jacob Fatu. He seems to be the one that stands out to me of the three guys they've added from
Mhm.
whatever different um
Very strong, but can do the
federations.
high flying stuff. Like he looks like an A-lister.
Yeah, he already looks like he fits, and it feels like Tama Tonga, who's been solid.
Mhm.
He's Jacob Fatu looks like he's just got a look that makes him look wild,
Mhm.
you know. Whereas, I think they've got two good guys in Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu specifically to kind of round out the new bloodline.
Yep. And they're doing, I guess, Freebird rules. You know, the bloodline are the tag champs. So at any point, any two of them could have the belts.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that they're doing the Freebird stuff. I like that.
It looked like it because Tongaloa and Tamatanga came out with the belts.
And they said the bloodline.
Yep.
Because they said the bloodline have the title, which means maybe
Yeah.
they can
So they're
rotate it
they're
around.
probably doing Freebird rules.
hmm New Day did that too.
Okay.
When it was Big E, Xavier Woods, and Kofi Kingston, they would rotate and they were actually heels, believe it or not, when they were at one point, and they were
You
great
almost
heels. I
have to
kind
be to do that, right? Because
of,
that's a chicken thing to do, right?
it really is. Be careful, we're monetized now, Dom. We can't be cussing on here.
That's why it's just chicken. It's cowardly. It's kind of the get out of jail free thing way to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you stopped short. Because I don't know. Um, I don't want to bury the lead here, so I won't go on about. We'll chat about that later. But
Sure, sure.
That
Well, and
is
in some ways, the lead is that our channel is growing. Thank you to everybody who's watching. If you're in the live stream now, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you're in the live stream now, send us a chat in the live chat. If you're watching us on the archive over at YouTube, send us a comment. We will read them. Tell us what you think of this opening segment. Do you like that Roman Reigns is back? Do you like that they're jumping into Bloodline versus Bloodline this early? I mean, it's only 4 months after WrestleMania. Do you like how they're doing it with Roman Reigns so far being the strong silent type, not cutting promos, just kind of taking care of business with his actions? Do you like what they're heading there? And do you like the decision to make this the last segment of SmackDown? Because I'm sure we'll get into that as we jump into the follow here. Like, this was your last segment of SmackDown. This was your quote unquote main event segment, even though it wasn't technically a match. Do you like that? Tell us anything that's on your mind about SmackDown tonight. So very good.
all right. So that's the lead. We can move on down into the follow. Tom, what match do you want to talk about first in the follow here?
I want to talk about what started sort of the end of the 8 o'clock hour and was what the hour changeover that they like. LA Knight was in the ring doing a standard celebration promo. The crowd's into it. I mean, they're not raucous, but like they're into it. They like seeing him. And then Santos Escobar interrupts. And there's a pretty good trash talk exchange there. This is good for Santos Escobar.
Yeah, I totally I had the same thing. I was kind of surprised. I was like, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he was
I feel like I
making
haven't
fun of
seen him
LA Knight's chant, right?
I haven't seen him shoot a promo, and the crowd was chanting, "You suck," at him. You suck. You suck. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, he's over.
And he's like saying, "I don't suck,"
Mm-hmm.
which
And he
just
was
makes
saying,
them do it more. Like, that's a great heel move. If you hear anybody yell at you, just like amplify it, and that makes everybody else join in and do it. So that was
I
a great
was
move. I love his Escobar, see, mocking the LA Knight. Yeah. So
I
good
was
stuff from Santos, right?
pleasantly surprised because I didn't think I. Sometimes you see some people come out with a mic and you've never seen them talk. You're like, uh-oh, have we been getting excited at the Performance Center or whatever, doing some promos, and now we think we can talk? And it's like, oh, wait a second, he can talk this whole time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
And this promo is what makes the finish of this match, because Santos Escobar is out there not just to, rag on LA Knight. He's out there because he has a match for the number one contender slot for the U.S. Championship. So it's him versus Andrade. This match goes, I think, about 13 minutes. The match started while they were in commercial. We returned from commercial after the promos and Andrade's introduction, and these guys are already in the middle of an Irish whip,
yeah,
So Santos Escobar winds up winning this with a little help from Carmelo Hayes at ringside, who is Andrade's foil. And Santos Escobar had to win this because Andrade can't really cut promos yet. And it would be a waste to have a guy going against LA Knight who could not cut a promo, because that's going to be a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the LA Knight promos, and it's better when there's someone else who can do it so that it's not LA Knight doing monologues all the time.
Right.
So Santos Escobar seems like he's grown into this role, and good for him that he's going to get the title shot, and I think it'll be fun. Anything from the match you wanted to mention? I mean,
I want to talk about. Sorry, this is kind of
Good.
backing up here, but LA Knight. He also said he had undeniable Kavorka.
Yes.
So that's a great reference for me. The Seinfeld joke. The
Yes.
Kavorka, the Kavorka Jerry, and he has to get the garlic to try to get the Kavorka out of him. Yeah, so I like that a lot. And then the match, as far as the match is concerned, I felt like Andrade was pretty over with the crowd as a face too. The crowd was into this one. And he did a pretty good job kind of just playing to the crowd when he had to, like smacking the mat, getting them going. I
Mhm.
remember just back in the Sheamus era when we were watching SmackDown, I always appreciated him doing simple things to get the crowd involved because
Yep.
I think a lot of people don't do that. Like I think a lot of people almost forget. Like they're thinking about what their next spot is, their next move, not thinking like, oh, the live crowd's here. Let me give them a little something to chew on.
Mhm. WWE seems pretty good at that. I think they've drilled into their heads, especially the baby faces, that if things seem dead, interact with the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Stomp your feet, yell to them, raise your hand, look around to the crowd. Andrade does the thing where he slaps his thighs to get that rhythmic beat going. Other people do the foot stomp.
Mm-hmm.
Guys will pound the turnbuckle. You said pounding the mat, something rhythmic that the crowd kind of copies mimetically into like clapping their hands or something.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah, I mean, Andrade is on offense most of this match. Santos Escobar basically steals the win with a roll up after Carmelo Hayes is at ringside, kind of hiding. He pulls Santos Escobar out of the way of a charge into the corner from Andrade, and then Santos rolls up Andrade, grabs the tights for the pinfall. Big heel win. It also tells us that Carmelo Hayes versus Andrade is not over yet, which gives them something to do. Andrade, very athletic for the bigger wrestler. He's doing top turnbuckle cross bodies. He does the three amigo suplexes, got 2 counts out of each of those. He blocks a superplex and then hits a sunset flip power bomb to go into the first commercial. So Andrade is the larger sized luchador
Yeah.
in this match. He can really do that. And that's typically babyface moveset, the high flying stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was tough for the early crowds in WWF not to cheer for Superfly Jimmy Snuka.
Right.
Because he's the Superfly. He does the things that are exciting and that are visually impressive. They really had to work to make him a heel. And Macho Man Randy Savage had to do the same thing. Like he had to work to be a heel because his move set was the kind of things that people wanted to see and wanted to cheer for.
Mm-hmm.
It made you pop. So Andrade's well positioned as a baby face. He has the kind of move sets that people pop for. Some of his stuff is still a little too choreographed in the sense that like his opponent is waiting for it
Mm-hmm.
to happen. Like I
I know what
don't
you
need
mean.
you guys waiting for it.
I know what you mean.
Like be crisp in your timing and your sequencing. It's not the performance center where you guys are talking through a move and okay, are you ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
It shouldn't look like 1, 2, 3, go. It
No,
should.
like I think him hitting the moonsault on the floor on Escobar was like that at one point.
I've been watching a lot of Olympics, and I've been watching judo, and I've been watching wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't go 1, 2, 3, go.
No, right? No.
No, they're usually setting it up then going. So it's got
Yes.
to look like you're setting up and going, not like 1, 2, 3 and going, right?
Yep. Yep. Like
Uh,
Escobar couldn't get out of the way of a lariat and he winds up going over the ropes. But then he's standing there facing Andrade, who's climbing the turnbuckles, and he just waits for him to backflip off the ropes there.
mm-hmm.
It's like that makes no sense. Either your back should be turned until the last second, or you should be groggy and looking down until the last second when you pick up. Like it shouldn't be that like, oh, I'm waiting to get hit. Because
Mm-hmm.
that's when it gets spot fest. Like the definition of spot fest to me is guys not wrestling defensively. So where it's just guy stands there neutral to take an offensive hit. And then
Mm-hmm.
they just switch places. Okay, now it's your turn to take the offensive hit. And I will just stand there like a mannequin. That's spot fest to me. Learn how to wrestle defensively and hit your moves so that it doesn't look like just a spot fest.
Yeah, because 100% agreed. And
So
I think we're both definitely in the same boat there.
this probably was match of the night, though, maybe by default. The 2 tag team contender matches were 7 minutes, and then there was a Jade Cargill 2-minute match.
I know.
So where do you want to go after this, or do you want to go to something that was not part of an in-ring thing, maybe backstage
I do, I
or
do,
just a promo.
I do want to mention one thing about the match before we jump off of it. I know we've been
Sure.
talking about it a good amount, but I wasn't a big fan of the finish. I feel like
Okay.
I've been seeing a lot of interferences and then wins off of interferences.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like those should be few and far between,
Yep.
not the standard. But between SummerSlam and SmackDown, I'm like, oh, weird, another interference and win. Like
Yep.
if if Santos Escobar is supposed to look strong going into it, have him beat Andrade, or have him find some other way to hook or crook. You don't have to have just blatant interference all the time, you know?
Makes your number one contender look weak, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't
It,
it a mark of guys that they can lose a match clean and not look weak?
yeah. That's
LA
that.
Knight beat AJ Styles clean. Then they
Mm,
return the favor. AJ Styles beat LA Knight clean. It
mm-hmm.
didn't hurt either guy
No.
because they're at that level where they put on great one-on-one matches and you don't win every time.
Yeah. Especially with how much the crowd was into it. And like you said, it was pretty much match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
You would at least, as you know, they kind of threw together some quick matches here. You'd at least want to give the crowd something.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's kind of my 2 cents for that. Maybe we could head
No, I
to.
agree because like, was it that important to build up, the fourth match between Carmelo Hayes and Andrade?
I know.
Like, was that so important that you had to taint the number one contendership for the U.S. title?
Hmm. Maybe yeah. That's the only thing that I didn't like, but I thought the match overall was good, and all the LA Knight and Santos impressed on the mic. But maybe
Mm-hmm.
we can head to the next match here. DIY knocks off Pretty Deadly.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to call this one out because I haven't seen Pretty Deadly in a while.
Yes.
Um, so DIY gets the win here. Uh, Pretty Deadly made me laugh out loud when they said "Pretty Deadly" the musical during the match. I don't know if Pretty Deadly is over with other people, but I like them, and
I do too.
it might just be me. Like I'm starting to get that sense that like this is such a dumb gimmick that I like it, but I don't know if other people are digging it because they kind of feel like they've been squashed, right?
That they have won over the "don't bury the lead" demographic with the Pretty Deadly gimmick. We talked before about perhaps they were kind of shoved aside out of their spot because Grayson Waller and Austin Theory got over as the jokey heels.
Hmm.
And like that was Pretty Deadly's gimmick, the jokey heels.
Hmm.
And so they had to go away for a while for some reason. They've been doing the Pretty Deadly, the musical stuff in backstage segments. That Elton Prince and Kit Wilson are walking up to people and pitching them the idea of Pretty Deadly, the musical. They did it to Tiffany Stratton today.
Hmm.
Um, or they've done it to other wrestlers in the past. So I don't know if they're actually going to go through with making Pretty Deadly the musical, or at least a 30-second vignette of it. But yeah, they're the jokey heels. They can wrestle in the ring. Um, there's not really a weakness or a flaw in their in-ring performances,
They're
but
actually
they're the
pretty good in the
jokey
ring.
heels.
Yeah,
They're
they're
good
pretty.
in the ring, aren't they?
Yeah, I was surprised because I was like, their gimmick's so ridiculous, and then they get in the ring, you're like, oh wow,
I don't
they
have a
can.
lot to say about this match other than DIY wins it in 7 minutes with that um, meet me in the middle move of theirs.
The double team power bomb was pretty cool as one of the
Mhm.
spots. That's the only thing I really had because, like you said, it was pretty quick. And
Pretty Deadly. I like the double team bulldog they did for a 2 count,
mhm.
where they get the opponent up on the shoulders and it's the leap off the top rope bulldog. So I like that. Uh, Pretty Deadly looks strong to me. I thought they were going to win because the earlier match, the Street Profits beat Austin Theory and Grayson Waller, and I thought that was going to set up baby faces in the Street Profits versus the heels in Pretty Deadly. But they're going to give us babyface versus babyface. I guess to guarantee that whoever wins is going to be a babyface against the heels of Tamatanga and whichever one of the bloodline Freebirds is going to be teaming with him. So
I
I don't
wonder
know
if
if that's
they're.
our good segue for the first match.
Yeah,
The
no, that's
Street
like.
Profits beat Austin Theory and Grayson Waller in another 7-minute match. Dawkins pins Theory after the top turn blockbuster by Ford with a little help there. That double team move.
I think it's a good segue because we can talk about that, specifically the A Town Down versus Street Profits. Street Profits win this one.
Mhm.
Uh, I did think it was weird seeing them without Bobby Lashley, who seems to be on his way out, headed
Yep.
somewhere. I don't know what the.
Oh, that's a teaser for Cheap Heat.
Yeah, that is a teaser for Cheap Heat later here. Um, I liked. Okay, the only thing I don't have a ton to say about this match either, but I liked the cool camera view they were doing. A lot of the
Yes.
match they had single shot, and the guy was walking back and forth with the camera. And I know it's an experimental view, but it's
Mhm.
so nice to see them going away from all the quick
Yep.
cuts, or the shaky cam when they're like doing the punches. Like that stuff was really over. They they overthink the uh they overthink the production sometimes. And like look at how good it looks just single camera and watching the guys doing their thing.
I think I'm remembering the same thing that you are. It was not the hard cam. It was a mobile camera operator floor level, so it was giving you like mat level view of the action. And what was unusual about it is they usually cut to those mobile cameras when the action either spills to the outside or goes to a corner,
Mhm.
because the hard cam doesn't catch the corner details, especially if one wrestler's got the back turned. What made this unusual, and I thought it worked, was that both wrestlers were in the middle of the ring when the hard cam is perfect for that, but they were trying a different angle with the sort of the floor level rather than the hard cam is a little bit above and it's
Yeah.
looking a little bit down on the wrestlers as if maybe you're mezzanine in the arena.
Mhm.
The hard cam on the floor is like your front row right outside the barricade.
Yeah.
And it gave you that look through the ropes. Like you had the blurry out of focus ropes in the foreground as they're trying to zoom in and focus on the wrestlers. Something different. I don't know if I'd want all of my matches to be like that.
No, but I think it
I mean,
was.
the hard cam looks good. Like they've been doing it for all these years. Like they do it because for a reason. Like the hard cam looks good.
Mhm.
But that was noticeable, and it wasn't like noticeable. Oh crap, this is lousy. Get it off my screen.
Exactly.
It was a good little experiment.
It's a good change of pace. You can
Yep.
use that camera a little bit more, and I think it gives you a different perspective of what's happening in the arena, and like again it gives the arena a little bit more energy because you always just have those like 10 yahoos that sit in the front row and you're always just looking at them, but then like it gives you an idea of like what else is happening and like how big the stage really is. So um I don't know, I thought it was a good unique shot. And
Yeah,
then
it's just another tool in the tool belt there. Like the overhead shots when they started doing those every now and then, they would cut for a few seconds to a direct overhead shot of the ring.
mhm. One
Now that was to get the Prime logo or the whatever logo on the mat into the onto the broadcast,
Oh, now they
but
have multiple logos in there too,
they're
which is
all
like,
over the place, right?
is it if you have to be second fiddle to Prime, what are you even doing? I
At
would just
what
be like,
point is the hard cam fans who are on camera all the time going to start holding up signs for their favorite beverages?
I
Like,
know.
are fans who are front row going to now get endorsement money if they hold up the right sign on the court, the hard cam?
Yeah. Would Gator if Gatorade was smart, would they pay some of the front stage fans to put up Gatorade and hold Gatorade
Absolutely, wear Gatorade shirts.
Gatorade shirts? Yeah, hey, buy front seat. Yeah. Wow, that would be the move. Um
Just
cuz
buy the tickets and have Gatorade employees show up.
um so this is a so.
You
Anyways,
heard it here first on Don't Bury the Lead.
that would
Tune
be
in next time for more crappy marketing tips.
no, that would be a very good idea from a marketing perspective to get for something that was be a cheaper win for them. Would
Mhm.
be like because then it would create some buzz too. But yeah, anyways, that we're talking about
Baby
marketing.
faces win again. So tag team looks like Street Profits versus DIY for a shot at the Bloodline, whoever it's going to be, the 2 out of the 3 or 2 out of the 4 of the Bloodline wrestling there.
Interesting. Yes, it looked like the Street Profits are kind of I don't want to say regressing, but they're kind of doing their old gimmick now, where they're baby faces and they have the cup still, and they're
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like going back to that. Um, so we'll see how that works out for them.
They do have BFAB now.
That's true. They
So
they
they've got the valet. That could be helpful down the road.
mhm. um I'm looking at my notes here. I think we only have one more match. Is it Jade Cargill?
Yeah, but there was something much cooler that happened.
Oh, sure. Go
The
ahead.
opener, Cody Rhodes in the ring. This was great because the buzz out of SummerSlam was Roman Reigns returned to take care of some business or start some business with Solo Sikoa. That helped Cody Rhodes overcome the odds and win the Bloodline Rules match at SummerSlam to retain his title. I'm glad they did not bury Cody Rhodes.
Mhm.
Like Cody Rhodes got to start this show as the champion, look strong, not have everybody jump right ahead to Roman Reigns. He's starting to talk about who's going to be his opponent for Bash at Berlin, which is really cool that Cody's going to defend this belt every premium live event and maybe a few times in between. But I think that's great that he's going to wrestle a lot. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Solo Sikoa comes out and says, "Wait a minute, I got cheated out of my SummerSlam. That's basically the gist of it. I got cheated out of my SummerSlam match. I should get a rematch." And Cody's telling him that you don't deserve a rematch at all. Who are you? Like really talking down to him, which is good. Like talk down to the guy.
Mhm.
You don't get a title shot just because you gave yourself a fancy nickname and you know wear jewelry. Your big old tribal chief necklace. Like the tribal chief was a big deal for Roman Reigns because Roman Reigns was the undisputed WWE champion. For you, it's just like giving yourself a nickname. Cool people don't give themselves nicknames,
Mhm.
right? You get a nickname because someone else gives it to you. Calling yourself the tribal chief and dressing up, like, no, that doesn't mean you're a big deal. You don't get a title shot for that. So I
Mhm.
like that Cody's like talking down to the guy. Good. Good. Cody should be strong. Cody shouldn't act like, yeah, I only won because of Roman. No, I only needed Roman because, your whole lousy family came out there because you couldn't win. You
Right.
couldn't beat me, so that's why all the interference happened. And when the sides were finally evened up, I beat you. So no, you don't get the win. The bloodline eventually retreats when Kevin Owens appears in the crowd with 2 steel chairs, one for Cody, one for him. And as the bloodline hightails it out of town, Cody stays in the ring, calls Kevin Owens back, and offers him a title shot for Bash in Berlin, which Kevin Owens declines. He says, I haven't earned it. So, babyface move by Kevin Owens. And this spills over into a segment in the back with Nick Aldis, where they've got the 3 of them there, and they're trying to, and Cody and Nick are just listening while Kevin Owens makes his case as to why he does not deserve a title shot. And Nick Aldis says, "You know what? You're right. I'll just give it to Roman Reigns." And then Kevin Owens flips out. Like, no, you can't give it to Roman Reigns. He hasn't earned it. I mean, sure, he gets the rematch clause, but he only kept his title so long because of the interference. He hasn't earned it either. How many people could have beat him? I could have beat him. LA Knight should have beat him. Cody should have beat him earlier. Like everybody should have beat him. And there you want to see somebody who's got a better claim to a title shot than Roman Reigns, just walk into the locker room, pick out a guy. Someone who's been here for the last 4 months wrestling.
Mhm.
And at that point, Nick Aldis says, "You're absolutely right. And that's why you're getting the title shot." So they do the reverse psychology there on Kevin Owens to get him to make the argument as to why he should get the title shot. So a little fun there. What do you think of babyface versus babyface for Bash in Berlin? With really no build between them. Like their history so far has been that they have each other's backs.
Yeah, I feel I feel a little bit like this is a throwaway matchup because it's babyface versus babyface. You know Owens is going to win. Bash at the Berlin. I almost said Bash at the Beach. Bash at Berlin. The Berlin show. It doesn't seem like that's where he's going to lose it, but Kevin Owens is a good wrestler. And I don't feel like I haven't really seen Cody Rhodes wrestle Kevin Owens. So
No, they haven't.
there is that perspective where it's like, oh, I haven't seen these two lock up
Yeah.
ever. So at least it's a unique matchup.
Something new.
Something a little different. You kind of obvious what's going to happen here, but it feels like one of those matches that should kick off the show, not be the main.
Oh no, it can't be the main. It's in Berlin. Gunther is the main.
Oh, okay. I wonder if he'll get cheered in Berlin. I hope he doesn't have a Logan Paul situation where he goes back to his hometown and still gets booed.
Like Logan Paul got booed in his hometown, but Rhea Ripley got cheered in her Australia return. And by the way, in that old match, they kept it very quiet. Nia Jax is also from Australia.
Really?
They did not want her getting cheered in Australia, so they kept that very quiet. And
Really?
just let Rhea Ripley get the home. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I read that. Nia Jax is from Australia. Yeah.
She just doesn't have the accent or anything.
No. Doesn't maybe she didn't live there very long, or maybe she's been Americanized. But yeah, another Pacific Islander. So yeah, and the fact that they're playing up that Gunther is from. He's from Austria, which is close to Germany.
They always just kind of combine those two together. Germany,
they combine
Austria.
all the Germanic tribes, right?
Yeah.
He's from that part of Middle Europe.
Mm-hmm. They have
North
all these
Central Europe, right?
Yeah, like it's like Uzbekistan. Like it's Russia.
It's one of the stands, right? Yeah.
But Austria and Germany, they get piled together.
They do. So and because they're not shy about playing into his heritage, you wonder if Gunther's going to get the babyface pop there. But whether or not he was going to do that, Bash in Berlin would be Gunther's show.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think the World Heavyweight Championship is the main event of Bash in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to see Cody Rhodes on the premium live event. And like you said, this is not a matchup where we're going, oh, we've seen this before. We haven't seen Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes.
And let us know in the chat if you like Kevin Owens versus Gunther or versus Cody Rhodes here. Is this a good direction, bad direction? You looking forward to the match? It's a throwaway. Let us know what you think. And we got one more match to talk about. And this is a complete banger, Dom.
Yes.
Jade Cargill versus, and I don't know her name, so I wrote tag team
Alba Fire.
Alba Fire, who we haven't seen too much of on SmackDown, but I know that they are the tag team champions.
Yep, and not as a singles wrestler. They purposely made this singles wrestler, Jade versus Alba. And when it started off that way, I thought, oh, we're going to get to see Jade wrestle a decently long match as a singles competitor. Nope.
No.
Nope. 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Jade hits that jaded slam, that face plant, that pancake, that sit-out pancake slam for a pinfall at 8:52. The bell time was 8:50 here on the East Coast.
Yeah. Well, she signed about a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's still getting squash matches, and everyone critiques AEW for only giving her squash matches, but that's all WWE seems to be willing to give her at the moment. It's either tag matches or squashes.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
I thought this was her chance to have a longer match.
Yeah, if you had just given her give her 10 minutes, you know?
Give her 7 minutes like the other ones. Like the
Yeah.
2 tag team contender matches got 7.
Hmm.
Give her 7 minutes without, having to tag in and out and wrestle somebody.
If they keep doing this to her, it's not going to help her. And I can
No, I
see
don't
that
think
the
it does.
crowd isn't really reacting as much as when she initially came.
No.
So the crowd's sort of like, okay, the song's not as good as her AEW song. That's actually a big deal because the AEW song bangs. And if she's going to be a theme song person, the song's got to be a banger, and it's not. And so
She's the storm,
she's
right? The storm is coming.
storm is coming.
It's
Ready
like
for this?
Frozen. She's Elsa or whoever
Elsa.
the princess is from Frozen.
Yeah.
That's her. She's the heel Frozen princess.
Yeah. It's totally weird and I don't think she looked bad during the match. So I would just like to see her go have a long singles match, and if it's not good, who cares? It's almost like they're being very protective
Yeah,
right now.
Fire did a tornado DDT for a 2 count. Did another move which was kind of a flying head scissors into a stretch submission hold. So
Mhm.
Alba Fire looked fine.
Yeah. Albert.
And she seemed to be the kind of wrestler who could, even as a smaller wrestler, who could do the kind of things that would make a bigger, powerful wrestler work. So this wasn't like, oh, there's nothing for Jade to do with her. There's plenty for Jade to do with her. Alba Fire was wrestling the kind of match you would wrestle against a bigger, stronger opponent.
Mhm.
Like, it's not like she was in there against somebody who doesn't know what's going on. This could
Mhm.
have been a 7-minute match. If Jade's going to be an A-lister in the singles division, she's got to show a lot more than this, doesn't she?
Yeah. It's just it's not enough right now, and it feels a little bit like it probably would have been really valuable for her to do some time in NXT and learn a little bit more and
Mm-hmm.
not have so much pressure on her to perform. And I think it's been the story of her career is she's been pushed to the moon, and then like she gets the push, and it's like, oh, you know, she kind of flounders, but they put her so high on the card. It's crazy.
I wonder if Blair Davenport's going to be her first real singles feud on the main roster, because Blair Davenport came back down to ringside after Jade wins the match here to make it a 3-on-2 beatdown of the baby faces until Naomi runs out to even the sides and the baby faces clear the ring. But Blair Davenport is a taller wrestler who, at least face to face, would not look like Jade should squash her.
Yeah.
So maybe Blair Davenport is going to be that first 7-minute match that Jade wrestles in at some point.
Yeah, her first 7-minute match.
Right? Yeah.
After a year on
What
the
a huge
roster.
accomplishment. You've already wrestled in a major promotion for a year and held their title for a record-setting reign.
Yeah.
We sent you to work with Natalia in the dungeon, and you've been on the main roster for 6 months now, wrestling with one of the A-listers as your tag team partner. We think you're ready to have a 5-minute match on your own.
We think it's time to not just do squashes, but uh yeah, hopefully they have her feud with someone that's big, and hopefully that then it all kind of falls into place, and she gets, even if she's just out there for a couple more minutes, it doesn't have to be the best match in the world. We
No.
can't just see a bunch of squashes though.
Backstage funny segment with Tiffany Stratton and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, where Tiffany Stratton it's almost a crime that she's not aligned with the two of them, because she's that same entitled princess attitude. But she's at odds with Chelsea, and it's the Mean Girls having a spat. It's fun anytime Chelsea Green's on the screen. She knocks it out of the park.
Right.
Even if it's just a backstage thing where she's giving people the attitude with the antics. Piper Niven is kind of a cool, kind of tough person to stand behind her with the arms folded. And Piper gets in a few verbal shots as well. So that's a neat thing. I wonder what it's going to be. You can tell that WWE is high on people if they find ways for them to get these almost throwaway backstage segments, even if they have no storyline for them to be involved in and no matches for them to wrestle.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, they really don't want people to forget about Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. And they're not going to be channel changers when they appear on screen. So good for their stock.
We like
I would
Piper
say.
and Chelsea.
Yes.
Yeah, they get the don't bury the lead approval for sure.
Yep.
Um,
Video memoriam to Kevin Sullivan, who passed away this week. He had been seriously ill for a while. He apparently had an accident and had to be hospitalized for it. And from what I heard, there were infections related to his complications related to his operation and his hospital stay. And so they did mention it during the program that Kevin Sullivan, they did a nice little video package for him about how he was a great heel for so many big baby faces over the years, whether it was Hulk Hogan or Dusty Rhodes. He was part of the Dungeon of Doom, the Four Horsemen for a while. He was a foil for them. So he was one of those guys who also backstage was involved in booking and creative. So he had a really good mind for the business too.
Yeah. Kevin Sullivan also wrestled Matt Tremont, who in a very, very, very later
Local
years.
call out. There you go.
Yeah. Well, so local South Jersey pro wrestler Matt Tremont, who we rented the ring from.
Very good.
Yeah, he wrestled Kevin Sullivan, and he was very old when he was wrestling him, obviously. But yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even know about that.
They mentioned it in the broadcast. I guess he had passed away early Friday because that's when they just started talking about it, as far as I heard. And it was a kind of WWE to acknowledge him.
Yeah, I've seen some of his shoot interviews. He definitely has a good mind for wrestling, for sure. And so I would say definitely, if you're gonna go back and watch some Kevin Sullivan stuff, his shoot interviews are pretty good.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. I've heard Jim Cornette talk about him as well. Kevin Sullivan had a decent mind for things. So I think that's it. I think that's the show. That's SmackDown. That's the recap. Tell us in the chat. Tell us in the comments. Did we miss anything or gloss over anything that you wanted us to talk more about? Do you disagree or agree with any of our takes on things? Tell us if you liked it. Tell us if you didn't like some of our analysis of what's going on. And while you're doing that, John, it's drive time, isn't it?
Dom, it's drive time. It's the thumb drive. We are looking forward to giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Why don't you give the description to the folks what the thumb drive is?
We're going to do kind of what we asked you to do in the chat, which is give us your like or dislike here, except we're going to do it not for a segment as we've been doing. We're going to do it for the whole show. We're going to distill this entire program into a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties. There are also no star ratings, no number grades, no letter grades. This course is pass, fail.
Dom, we don't do star ratings. We're not Dave Meltzer. We're not 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We're not 1 star at the Core State Center. We're not 4 stars at anywhere in Japan. No, 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 no. We don't do stars. We do a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Yep. So ready?
I'm ready for Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they were this week, right?
Yeah, let's rate the show. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Oh.
Okay. I'm grading on a curve because it's right after SummerSlam.
Wow, Dom.
I'm grading on a curve because it's right after SummerSlam.
What did you think, or what made you give a thumbs up to this show?
I like the Roman Reigns silent but still strong type, not having to cut promos. I like where they're going with that. I like that they gave us the visual of this is really a dispute over who's the real tribal chief. So that worked for me. I like LA Knight getting out there and teeing it up for Santos Escobar to see if he can hang, and Santos Escobar delivering.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm enjoying that. Uh, the rest of the show, I'm grading on a curve. It's
That's
post
fair.
SummerSlam. You know it's going to be heavy into angles, not so heavy into matches. They did give us at least one pretty good match. And the tag team stuff, while it didn't go very long, it was fast paced. It wasn't like, what am I watching? Yes, there was one squash, but it was only one. I'm grading on a curve.
Yeah.
I will give them the thumbs up because it's the post SummerSlam SmackDown where I know they're trying to build up some angles.
I don't, we typically will always just give a thumbs up if it's like standard, like, okay, it's pretty good. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I was just like, this show is very skippable. Like, I feel like
Okay.
you probably could have just went through, and like you said, they're setting up a lot of the storyline stuff, which it's not really typically what I'm that interested in necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like lots of talking segments, promos, and then the in-ring stuff was just so. If you would have just cut one of the matches or cut some of the backstage stuff and given Jade a couple more minutes, seen her wrestle a real match, that might have been cool. I think it was very, very close for me. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, dude, I was pretty bored throughout the whole show. So I gave it a thumbs down.
Okay, it was skippable, and angle shows almost always are because you can get the gist of an angle by watching the 3-minute YouTube clip that WWE puts on their channel,
You could
or that they
scan.
put on X. Like you could have gotten just angles from that. The backstage schmaz. Jade's entire match would have fit into a 3-minute clip.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I'm with you. For a lot of the stuff, this was skippable. But there were a few details in there that you may have missed if you only went through clips. Like you may have missed how good Santos Escobar was on the mat, on the mic, with LA Knight there in the ring with him. You may have missed how good that trash talking face off was. You may have missed a number of the high spots from Andrade and Santos in their match. You may have missed the entire build of the opening segment and the closing segment. So angle wise, yeah, you could have just skipped the show because there wasn't a lot of great wrestling. But at the same time, if the angles are important in your post SummerSlam show, and I think they are, I think there was some stuff that you may not have gotten if you didn't watch the show. So if you were willing to just kind of say, okay, post great on a curve, post SummerSlam show, give it to me, WWE. I'm ready for it.
Right. Yeah, for me, it wasn't terrible. Like, we've definitely had some, like, this is the worst SmackDown of the
You
year.
could
It
have
was,
fast forwarded a few things, right?
yeah, I just wasn't too into it. And I was just like, what, there's like a couple things that stuck out to me, like the interference in the one match that was actually supposed to be good and actually was good. And then there's interference. So I just didn't get a lot of wrestling that I wanted to see. So I gave it a thumbs
Normal
down.
week, I would have thumbs down this.
Mm-hmm.
I said right away, I'm grading on a curve.
Yes. And you know what, Dom? There's nothing you're not going to get any heat from me for giving a thumbs up when I give a thumbs down. Speaking of heat, is it getting a little hot in here?
It's not only unseasonably warm in our humble abodes at the moment, but it's also pathologically frugal. It's time for cheap heat, isn't it?
It's time for cheap heat. This is a segment where we talk about trending topics in the WWE, AEW, other aspects of pro wrestling. Typically, what we have done in the past is take this segment here. We talk about the trending topics, make them into shorter videos, and post them onto YouTube. That has got us officially monetized on YouTube, which is very, very exciting. It's a cheap pop for us right now.
Yes.
Saying, yeah, we've put in so much cheap heat out there that we're now monetized with YouTube. So
Stage
down
one
the
of it, though, we can't. We're not there fully yet. So please keep subscribing to us, liking our content when you appreciate what we're doing. We still have a long way to go, and it's good for us to get the feedback, right? We
Oh,
like
yeah.
hearing from people. We like knowing that people find the channel interesting enough to subscribe. We like seeing the thumbs up or the thumbs down on the YouTube clips. We like seeing the chats wherever you're chatting with us from, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, whatever live stream you're on right now. Head over to YouTube. That's where our archive is of all of our stuff, including not only these full episodes, but the edited clips, John, that you make, and the shorts, the sub 60-second clips that can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah, so that's what's kind of going on with our channel
Pro
now.
wrestling is real, NASCAR is fake.
That's the OG. That's the best one.
That's an OTC.
OTC.
Don't bury the lead shorts, right?
Yeah. So, without further ado, though, we've been posting this cheapie as a full videos too, and that's done pretty well from a watch time perspective. Dom, we got our lead for the cheap heat here. Can you go ahead and bring us home?
Logan Paul is suing CoffeeZilla for doing all his reports on the Crypto Zoo ongoing incident with cryptocurrencies and games that were promised to be available and playable with these tokens, and the game isn't there, and what kind of refunds are being offered here. I'm not going to play you this video because it's CoffeeZilla's channel there. You can see his channel if you want the full 20 minutes of it, but you can see right up there on the screen. Logan Paul is suing me for Crypto Zoo. Logan Paul is also getting sued by his prime supplier because breach of contract here. Prime is apparently not doing that well in sales, so they're not fulfilling the bottling order that they had agreed to. This bottler apparently did a lot of work on their own in order to get into this, and you could see the accused of promoting crypto scams made it into this Business Insider article as well. Demand for the once red hot drink creators and seems to owe at least $67.7 million. Refresco, the beverage bottling giant, basically considerable investment of time, including production line downtime, in order to give Prime Energy, it looks like, priority status at their bottling plant. And now Prime is just like, yeah, not ordering bottles of the beverage.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Breach of contract. There's a lot of money involved in this. So Logan Paul is suing. Logan Paul is getting sued. And he's also suing LA Knight for stealing his Prime Energy truck and then bashing in the driver's side window of it. I'm guessing this is a work. The other two seem to be shoots, though. Logan Paul suing, getting sued, and then a work suit.
Boy, oh
what do
boy.
we make of Logan Paul and making everything into a lawsuit? And are you surprised with this last one that WWE is apparently doing a storyline lawsuit when lawsuits are kind of the thing that WWE and TKO wants to keep quiet?
Yes.
Cough, Vince McMahon, cough.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Don't mention lawsuits. John, what's going on?
Yeah, like, are they going to want to look up, like, if people start to Google LA Knight lawsuit or WWE lawsuit, they're going to start to find all the other lawsuits that are still pending against Vinnie Mac. So, yeah, this is pretty interesting. I sort of mentioned this before. Well, I had no idea who Logan Paul was before we started watching SmackDown. I had maybe like seen his name float around, but I didn't really follow anything with him.
Girl, same.
But I don't know of any. He seems like he's got a lot of baggage, and the baggage continues to kind of add up here. As far as the CoffeeZilla thing, if he does have as much money as he says he has, or at least alludes to him having, I don't know how they can't just give the money back to the people that gave it to them unless it's not there and they don't have it. Like it just seems like a strange. He's got so many other ventures. Wouldn't you just take the L, pay back the people, and then be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm done with it"? What is this constant struggle?
Businesses have things happen and offer full refunds as a matter of standard operating procedure.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like you try to save face. And it's not like his only revenue stream. He's got his
Yeah.
podcast, he's in WWE, he's got Prime Energy he has to focus on.
Mhm.
So it seems really dumb. And just to get on CoffeeZilla, you could see throughout the video, he talks about how they had essentially made he had essentially promised to give the people their money back, and then CoffeeZilla was like, "Oh, awesome!" Like, so he trusted them. So
Mhm.
like the hit piece was done, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I can give the money back." But instead, he's just suing CoffeeZilla, which makes him look like a bad person. You know, I mean, come on.
I don't know exact. I wonder if this is one of those, bury the guy in a lawsuit just to make him back down. Because
Mhm.
Logan Paul and Prime Energy have the big lawyers, and CoffeeZilla, as he did later in this video, he's telling people, "Look, I've got some legal fees, so if you want to subscribe to, what we do here or buy some merch, it's all going to our legal fees. We're going to have some more legal fees." So I wonder if this is just a tactic um, to bury the guy and shut him up.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't see how Logan Paul has a case here. Like the
No.
guy's doing decent investigative reporting. It's with information that, for the most part, is either publicly available, and even if there was stuff that wasn't yet publicly available, there's no indication that what CoffeeZilla is doing is not just standard, good investigative journalism, not the garbage journalism that you see today, which is just regurgitating press releases from
Right.
either government agencies or from corporate PR departments.
Yeah. No.
CoffeeZilla is, actually looking at the information and giving his take on it, and that's they agree with him or disagree with him. That's fair, decent reporting. That's what it used to be, or what it was supposed to be. And I say this as a guy who worked in professional news media for a while and then got out of it, and has been very critical of it. I don't see how what CoffeeZilla is doing is suable. I mean, you can disagree with the guy, but he's doing what he's supposed to do in a supposedly free society.
Yeah, it's a great take because yeah, from your background with journalism, that's interesting to hear like your opinion or your perspective there. And then yeah, from my end, just with Logan Paul getting sued, uh, that sounds very reasonable because the thing is, these vendors they manufacture all types of drinks, right? Like
Yep.
Refresco probably does whatever drink it is. And if they had already independently set up all this prime with the expectation of a floor of you have to ship a certain amount of this or you're hit with these fees, that is something that's very standard in supply chain. Because okay,
Mhm.
maybe I'll show you, I've been in supply chain for 15 years, like in logistics supply chain industry. Um, if you promise a certain amount of cargo that needs that like to a specific carrier and they're not getting it, then they hit you with additional fees because they've allocated so many resources to it. It's like a
Sure.
backup for them. And you
Mhm.
can see this is not a mom and pop shop. They have 15,000 employees for
Yep.
Fresco. So they're probably huge. Um
Prime
West,
representatives didn't show up for a mandatory test run of the new machinery. By April, Prime hadn't placed any beverage orders and told Refresco the contract had been terminated.
yeah. Um
You're not WWE releasing a wrestler. You can't just do that, I don't think. Adding that by that point, not one unit of Prime was bottled for the new production line, from the new
um
production line.
that's crazy that they're not even trying to meet them halfway and get some of them produced, but it just goes to show you the flash in the pan of Prime. It must be if they're not able to push the product, or at least they're over committing now. Before they were they had way too much demand and not nearly enough supply. Now it seems like they have way too much supply at the moment if they're not
They
able to
don't have
push
a
it.
handle on their own market.
Mhm.
They don't
And
have a handle on their own market.
and
They projected they would be selling way more than they are.
to be fair, it's a very unique situation where it blew up so rapidly and then
Mhm.
came down so quickly. But I see that all the time with lots of things, right? It could become like it, instead of it being a staple like Gatorade, where like there's a certain amount of people like they get Gatorade that's been around forever. It's a new product, so you don't know how well it's going to do, and then you don't know how quickly it will fall off. Um, so pretty interesting stuff there.
And maybe just not to let your remark before be buried there. What if this here, and this is by Logan Paul tweeted this out from his ex account, See You in Court, Real LA Night. What if this is a really sneaky good ploy to bring up something else in search results when somebody puts in WWE lawsuit in their search bar?
I don't mind. He has no problem playing into his real life issues.
No.
Logan Paul.
Does he seem smart enough to have done what you suggested?
He
Like he
definitely.
masterminded this thing to get some heat off of WWE so that when people Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo or whatever, Yahoo search WWE lawsuit, maybe something else comes up instead of Vince McMahon.
I don't think he's that committed to the company that
Right.
he would do that. But I do think that he's so shameless that he's like perfect as a pro wrestler because you really have to be shameless, right? Sometimes. And with him, he's just like, oh, I have all this controversy. Like, how can I get me more clicks and views? Oh, like let's go ahead and do this with See You in Court LA Night, you know?
He's very much like Hulk Hogan, isn't he?
Yes. He gets it.
Ben Affleck may star as Hulk Hogan in a movie about the Gawker sex tape trial. This comes to us from the Daily Beast. It was on a few other outlets as well. Hulk Hogan, this comes to us from Parade, sends a serious warning to Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Hulk Hogan is no stranger to litigation, and now sources say he's willing to take legal action again, this time against Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. He won't hesitate to sue if he feels the film violates his privacy. Well, let's not bury the lead here. Would you like to see Ben Affleck play Hulk Hogan in a movie? Do you think he could do it?
It's pretty interesting that he wants to take on that role, but also not take on the role as Hulk Hogan, how great he is, but just to sort of really bury him. Like, I think
Very
it'll,
Gawker in a way, right?
yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, it really depends how they portray it. Is Hulk going to be the victim? Or maybe if it's somewhere in the middle and it's a little bit more honest and it's a little bit questionable because it is kind of questionable. Like Gawker did steal the stuff, but he did say it. So I think there's some controversy involved there, right? Like Gawker shouldn't have posted it because it's illegal, but then also Hogan shouldn't have been in these situations. So
Affleck and Damon were jonesing to play Hogan and Peter Thiel, the billionaire tech investor who bankrolled the war on Gawker, respectively. Let's see here. Killing Gawker was penned by Charles Randolph. It was adapted from author Ryan Holiday's 2018 tome Conspiracy, Peter Thiel, Hulk Hogan, Gawker, and the Anatomy of Intrigue. So if they're staying true to the information that's already in this book, I don't know what Hulk Hogan, Terry Bollea could have as a lawsuit. Now, if they uncover some new things and invade his privacy, then maybe, although it's kind of an uphill battle because Hulk Hogan's a public figure.
Mm-hmm.
But, just the fact that, Hulk Hogan is claiming lawsuit again. Corporate needs you to find the difference between these two pictures. They're the same picture.
They're the same picture.
They're the same picture. Let's move on. Becky Lynch with kind of a cryptic Instagram post. It's been a hell of a career. What do you mean past tense there, Becky? We thought you were just taking some time off. That's kind of a weird way to phrase it. She was trying to thank people for watching her bio on A&E television, but it's been a hell of a career. Is Becky Lynch done?
I don't know what her next step is because she just did go away for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Having a child that age and like both parents are on the road, it's got to be kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be honest with you, I know they're both trying their best to get through it, but it feels like one of them has to be on the road, one of them has to be home with the kid. So maybe she is alluding to, you know, taking some time off or even semi-retiring, maybe not going full time. So, you know, I think that probably makes the most sense is that semi-retirement. And it seems like a pretty sweet gig where people come back for just part-time stuff and they're big deals and they have them in pay-per-views and then they, you know, go
What a
away.
great segue.
Mhm.
Trish Stratus, who her last match in her current run was against Becky Lynch in a steel cage during a premium live event.
And it was a good
She's
match.
talking about possibly returning, and she is age 48. So even for the women wrestlers, if you stay in shape, this is a possibility. Maybe Becky Lynch takes a few years off and then comes back later. Cody isn't the only one with an unfinished story, said Stratus. I love being back as a special guest in Toronto at Money in the Bank, as she was. And who knows if I can still go, I'll keep going. I'll never half-ass it. If fans are interested and it can influence another generation, then we'll see. She has some unfinished business with Zoe Stark. They mentioned losing to Becky Lynch in the steel cage at Payback. Let's see here. She wanted that cage match before she left. So in her return there, even in her second half of her 40s, she wanted to have a cage match, and she got it, and she performed well into it. She kind of worked her way into shape during her mini run there, and the cage match turned out pretty well. She also is getting a WWE Legends episode on A&E, but this is the environment we're in WWE, isn't it? You can come back as a legend, and Becky Lynch has that legend status with what her career has been.
Yeah.
Would you want to see, you've already told us that you're okay with Becky Lynch maybe doing that down the road. Would you want to see Trish Stratus come back, perhaps getting back with Zoe Stark or doing something else? Do you think there's something else for Trish Stratus to do in the modern WWE?
Yeah, for sure. And I say that because her cage match was good.
Yep.
I think there was another veteran they had around Lita,
Yes.
and Lita just looked like cooked. Yeah, she just wasn't. She wasn't. I mean, it is what it is. She's older. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. She had a good career. What yada yada yada. But Lita was cooked. Trish had a good match with the cage match and is over. She's a pretty good heel actually.
Yes.
And kind of funny, older lady heel. But I like when they incorporate older people into the wrestling if they can still go and they wrestle within their means, right? So we saw Sting as an old man be way over in AEW and wrestle in tag team matches and not do too much besides the entrances and the nostalgia pop. If you did something like that with Trish, she actually seems a little bit more capable than Sting because he's 60. So,
Yep.
uh, yeah, she might as well lay it all out there. I'm cool with her having another run. How about you?
Agree with everything you said. If she can go in the ring, then yes, she's valuable as more than the person who just comes out in Toronto for a little speaking promo. I
Mm-hmm.
think she can. I think she could do it.
Yeah.
Um, this came to us from si.com. So thank you very much for that. Speaking of women who are heels but are still perhaps in their prime, Britt Baker, who we covered being in some sort of suspension angle that we think was a work. She's set to appear in Cobra Kai. Do you watch Cobra Kai? It's a series on Netflix that plays off of the Karate Kid series of movies, especially the original Karate Kid with Daniel and Johnny there.
The first couple seasons were really fantastic, and I couldn't
Okay.
believe how good it was because I thought this is going to be so stupid. And then I watched it. I was like, "Oh, this is such a good idea." Basically, Johnny turns face, and he's like down on his luck, and the whole show is about how Daniel was kind of actually a piece of trash during their run, like during the movie, and Johnny was not really that bad of a guy, and
Yep.
like it kind of like paints that picture a little more. But the first couple seasons were pretty good, and now it's like kind of it's just like it's done, but they keep it going. Like every other show is like
Uh,
3 seasons too long, you know. So they had some success in their earlier years, and I can see them continuing trying to keep it going.
Per Mike Johnson of PW Insider, this comes to us transcribed from WrestleZone.com. Baker's role is described as a European fighter who would be competing in a team in an international karate tournament. Does Britt Baker do martial arts as part of her AEW wrestling thing? You're the AEW watcher much more than I am.
Yeah, I don't
Can she
know.
pull this off, or is she just kind of a standard pro wrestler?
As a European fighter, so unless she's not talking, then I don't know.
International karate tournament. Does she do karate stuff in AEW?
No, she doesn't do karate stuff either.
No, she grabs people's jaws like mankind because she's a dentist.
Yeah, she's a dentist. She does. She's from Pittsburgh too. She's not from Europe, so uh, I don't know. Maybe she's a good actor or actress. When you don't have, I should say this. Sometimes you have no idea that someone's going to be a good actor, and then they are. I think that was Batista actually has put on some pretty good performances that are
Yes.
like surprising because you're like he wasn't so great on the mic in
Yeah.
WWE, and then like suddenly he's a good actor, you know. So if she put if she dedicates herself to it and puts in the time, I imagine she could do it. She passed it. She's went through dental school, which I'm not sure how hard or impressive that is, but she did it. But she's a dentist and a pro wrestler, so I mean, you know,
She's got something to fall back on, and now something to fall back on, perhaps acting, even if the other two don't work out. Do you remember when Cobra Kai star Martin Kove appeared on AEW programming like 2.5 years ago? Do you remember that at all?
only because Martin Kove has been in a lot of other stuff besides Cobra Kai. So
Okay.
yeah, he's a pretty good, I would say, pretty good actual actor. Like he does all kinds of crazy characters. Uh,
Okay. Well, Britt Baker looks like she could be a martial arts star. I'm
oh,
just not sure if she
I'm
could do it.
mixing up Martin Kove. No, Martin Kove only did Cobra Kai.
Okay.
Yeah, he's very Karate Kid Cobra Kai. I think that's the only thing he's done. Sorry.
Then he was the right guy to have on the program.
Yeah, right. He's
Instantly, he's like, oh, that's the Cobra Kai guy.
mm,
And now apparently Britt Baker will be a Cobra Kai actor as well. Good for her branching out. You had sent this to me from eWrestling News. Backstage update on the Lucha Brothers jumping ship from AEW to WWE. How much did you see of these guys in AEW, and do you think they would be a good fit for WWE if this rumor is true?
they could be a great fit in WWE. because they do lucha style better than anyone that I have seen in WWE. Um, they're both Penta is really good. The guy on the right, Penta's very good as kind of a bigger bruiser, and the guy on the left he does the best. He's like Rey Mysterio, Ray
Okay.
Phoenix.
This is Ray Phoenix here on the left side of our screen.
Hmm. And I
Okay.
think they have done everything they can in AEW. They won the tag titles. They won the trios titles. They've been there for a while. It might be. I think it's a good fit for AEW to drop them because their roster's bloated. WWE to pick them up because they need good tag teams and they don't really have a lot of good tag teams.
Okay.
And then also for them personally, they're a little bit more stale in AEW, and they've done everything they can. So I think it's time for them to go somewhere.
They've been very open, claiming they've already had talks with WWE. They had been part of AEW since the company began, so this would be long time, long time in an AEW sense. Guys leaving the company, but hey, that happens. And
No, I
that's why it's good to have more than one big company around, so that when one company says, we don't know what to do with you, they get a little stale, or wrestlers just say, we think we've done all we can here, we want to kind of get a promotion by switching jobs here.
it's I
um,
think I think it'd be a win-win-win because AEW has too many wrestlers right now, and I think they know they have too many wrestlers. So like, if they were to
okay,
just say, "Hey, we're gonna leave," it'd probably be a welcome change for AEW.
very good. Do you see these guys starting off in NXT if they go to WWE, or could they be main roster right away?
They'd be main roster right away. They're one of the best tag teams in the world.
Okay, very good. Then I look forward to seeing them there.
Mhm.
Size wise, do you think they could match up with, say, the Bloodline, Tamatanga and Tangaloa, or would they be clearly too small to wrestle them?
No, Penta's big on the right. On the left,
Okay.
Ray Phoenix isn't too big, but he's very athletic. Like he does the craziest lucha stuff that you can see. Like he does the flippy stuff. He does the best flippy stuff.
Okay.
And even for me, a guy who doesn't really like flippy stuff, they're very good.
Okay. Very good. Then
Mhm.
there'll be something to look forward to. You can't miss them looking like that, right?
No, you can't. And they
You're
great
going to
look.
know who these guys are when they show up.
Hmm.
Very good. The Lucha Brothers. We hinted at this before, or you did, talking about it must be tough for a wrestling family to have both parents on the road. Uh, Rebecca Quinn's husband, of course, is Seth Rollins. Becky Lynch's husband here is Seth Rollins. Um, he's been written off of TV for a while. He's technically cleared to wrestle. This comes to us from Ringside News, but he's got so many nagging injuries that he's not up to his standards. So he's going to take some time and just be off camera. I was almost worried that I wonder if Seth's going to pack it in too, and Seth and Becky are just going to pack it in for a while. But it looks like Seth is intending to come back and wrestle. He just wants to heal up and be able to do, Seth Rollins stuff rather than just be a special guest referee in a match with two other guys, or come out and talk and get beat up by Bronson Reed as he did on the past Monday Night Raw. What say you about Seth Rollins? He's the kind of guy who, after a while, he can't really hide if he has a real injury because of his style.
Yeah, right.
He was
He's
trying to work through that knee tear for a while, but it became pretty obvious that he was laboring. It may be also his chronic back problem as well.
he's
Kudos
30.
to him for being able to mask it.
Mhm.
Um, with his just overall high level of ability. But to be Seth Rollins at 100%, he's gotta heal up. Is this a good move? Is this really good timing for him, where this is like he's not needed on the main roster to be an A-lister at the moment?
Yeah, I think it'd probably give him some time off would make sense. And then in addition to that, he's 38 and he's been wrestling WWE for years and the indies for years before that. I can't imagine what his body's going through. And I think at 38, 39, 40, you got to start to think about your future. And you also have to think about, you know, uh, how your style that he wrestles might have to change around,
Mm,
um, as he gets older, if he wants to keep doing it. You see it with Jericho. He kind of
okay.
slows down, switches his style up, and he wrestled probably similar to what Seth does now. Um, yeah, so from my perspective, he's taken a ton of bumps. Like his I would say he's wrestled a lot of matches and taken a lot of bumps.
Yep.
So I think you should really reconsider how you wrestle and then at what pacing he's going to wrestle because he's been full time for 15 years.
Steve Austin famously changed his style when he got older to become the ringmaster and Stone Cold in the WWE. It was no longer Hollywood blonde Steve Austin from the WCW days. And
Mhm.
then even after he got his neck injury, he changed his style again. So guys can be over and work great matches even if they change up how they do it and their move set and even their physique over the years and their movement. It's not unheard of that guys can still be excellent
Yeah.
if
Hey,
they have that ability.
it's funny because AJ Styles has been fine. And he's been kind of wrestling the same style that Seth does. So uh, some guys just are built different. And I don't know if Seth is banged up. It's probably because he's not built as differently as AJ Styles.
Well, speaking of guys who are built differently, Bobby Lashley commented on his status with the WWE. Apparently, he was seriously enough injured in a match in France. Live event against Santos Escobar on May 5th, where he needed emergency surgery. He says it was a minor thing, but he had to get it taken care of right away. They thought he was going to take 6 months off. He's been accelerating that process, but that explains why he's off TV. But he might not be able to return to WWE. And he's one of the few wrestlers who had a better relationship with Vince McMahon than he seems to have with Paul Levesque, also known as Triple H. We've spoken before about how Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, those are the old time Vince McMahon guys, the
Yeah.
larger than life, look like comic book superheroes with the legit MMA background. So if they got in there, we one of our early Don't Bury the Leads was Bobby Lashley versus um, Brock Lesnar at a pay-per-view. It may have even been the first WrestleMania we did. And
Mhm.
we were saying, like, if this was the 80s or 90s with Vince McMahon totally in charge, these guys would main event every doggone pay-per-view.
Yeah. Right.
Right? Bobby Lashley is a Vince McMahon type of physique and wrestler.
Mhm.
And maybe he says he just hasn't been able to. I've tried to, but we haven't really worked together enough to get to know each other well. So he's one of those guys who maybe is in limbo with what has happened because he was such a good fit for the larger than life cartoonish era of WWE.
Mhm.
What do you think about Bobby Lashley first having a legitimate injury and that's why he's not been on TV? But now, so we've talked before about maybe he's leaving WWE when his contract runs up. What do you think about his chances of making a comeback? And is his situation a signal, and maybe Brock Lesnar's as well, that Brock Lesnar's have been kind of buried as well, that the Vince McMahon type of wrestler is not where WWE is concentrating anymore?
It's sort of weird because I think Lashley's pretty good, and he
Yeah.
just hasn't found a spot or under this new regime, which is strange. And it might just because like they're just he likes the NXT guys. They're just getting younger, so maybe he just doesn't have the same pull that he had with Vince when he was one of the veterans and one of the. I mean, I'm sure he and Vince were very close because
Mhm.
you know he was one of Vince's guys, and he's a huge bodybuilder. They probably worked out like crazy together. So, um, you know, it's weird to see, but
The arm's getting back strong, but I needed this setback so the comeback could be so much greater. Almost a Seth Rollins thing. Like,
mhm.
it's time for me to take care of a few things so that I can wrestle at 100%. The only question is, more so with Bobby Lashley than with Seth Rollins, is will Bobby Lashley's comeback that could be so much greater occur with the WWE? We don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
He probably just
couple of
wants
neat. Go ahead.
he probably just wants to be out there, and they kind of didn't plan him to be out there, so he's probably pissed that, he can't get out there.
Yeah, a much longer interview here occurred. Um, it's posted to YouTube if you want to go find it. It's with, let's see here, the Laboratory podcast, the Laboratory with Plaz. So if you do want to go find this full hour-long plus interview there, go ahead and find them on YouTube. Good news there if Bobby Lashley is recovering from his injury. Let's do a little more good news. Travis Kelce's friend Baron Corbin praises rare Taylor Swift. She can hang with the boys. This comes to us from Us Magazine. Apparently, Taylor Swift is able to kind of just be a regular person with Travis Kelce's crew. Here's what I'm wondering about. Did you have any idea that Baron Corbin was part of Travis Kelce's crew?
um
Travis Kelce's a buddy of mine, so he invited us out to the game. Hey, is Taylor going to be there? Assumed she wouldn't be, but then she was. And she's so nice, so down to earth. If you had lived under a rock and had no idea who Taylor Swift was, you would think she's just an awesome person. Did you know that Baron Corbin was friends with Travis Kelce?
I did not
This guy
realize
is
this.
popping up all over the place.
I wonder if they're friends because they played football together.
Perhaps.
Because I know he was in the league for a little bit, Baron Corbin. He's a lot older than he's 39. He's a lot
He's
older
39. Travis is 34. So they're not huge age difference.
Yeah, I don't know how they would know each other.
Wow.
Outside of I don't know. Outside of it, they're both Travis is probably an A-list celebrity now, and I'd say Baron Corbin is somewhat of a D-list celebrity. I don't know, like NXT, a pro wrestler that's not famous.
Baron Corbin as a celebrity is probably way down the list.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think
as a wrestler, he's been pretty good, and his return to the main roster recently has been fun.
Like, we know who Baron Corbin is, but
yes.
My mother wouldn't know who Baron Corbin is. That'd be a big stretch.
So without Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, there's no way US Magazine runs an article about Baron Corbin.
Right. And is Baron Corbin doing a little name dropping here? Oh, I was just hanging out with Travis. And
Taylor. Taylor was there too.
Yeah.
Hey, if that's what it takes to get into Us Magazine there, that's what it takes. Randy Orton threw out the first pitch at a Cardinals game on August 7th. Let's wait for this to replay here from MLB. Please don't give us a strike. It's your thing. We're promoting you. Randy Orton, that wasn't much of a first pitch. Is it that he's just got too much bulk there to really get loose and fire one away?
Oh, he does have a really awkward delivery.
We mentioned before that his comeback run here, he's bigger than he's ever been, very bulky, very muscular, not only in the thighs, but the chest area, the deltoids. This is not the younger Randy Orton who moved a lot quicker around the ring. Randy Orton, he just wasn't going to be able to do much more than that semi-shot put there.
Yeah, he's got the messed up shoulders, right? So it's probably
probably
And then I think no, I'm looking at the form. He leads with his right hand as he's throwing, right foot as he's throwing with the right hand. I think it's supposed to be the opposite way. I think you're supposed to be leading with your left and then pushing off with your right and then pitching.
He doesn't step much into that throw.
Actually,
So
he doesn't step too much into it, but he gets it across the plate. I mean, sometimes it could be a real nightmare
I was just gonna say he didn't bounce it, and
yeah.
the catcher didn't have to like take an actual step to go catch the ball. He just had to come out of the crouch, which that's standard.
Hmm.
I mean, this guy probably doesn't want to be in the crouch anyway. So he was able to catch it without moving. Orton did not bounce it, and you wonder what he said to make the catcher laugh here. He probably said, "Hey, I didn't bounce it."
Right.
So it didn't bounce it, didn't make the guy run to catch it. So that's a good first pitch. That's a good throw.
And
Congratulations, Randy Orton. I did not know he was a baseball fan, but he's out there with the St. Louis Cardinals. This is fun stuff.
and you could see the way he kind of ducks his head afterwards and like, all right.
All right, yeah.
All right. I did the thing I'm not very good at, whatever, But, like all good pro wrestlers, you can't have a high level of shame. You're just like, okay.
He's out there. It's part of the work, right? It's part of the business.
Exactly.
You go out there, you do the best you can, you clap your hands. This is clearly a babyface moment for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's not out there as a heel. I would imagine the St. Louis Cardinals crowd is not booing him. So this is definitely a babyface doing a babyface thing. Fun for him, fun for the WWE. We end cheap heat with a cheap pop.
This is a cheap pop.
It's cheap. It's heat or it's pop. It's cheap heat, John. That's what I got. Was there anything you wanted to talk about that did not make our video and audio video rundown here?
It's cheap heat. That's it, baby. So that's cheap heat. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us as we chatted here about WWE Smackdown last night and cheap heat. We're going to take it into the Italian goodbye here. So if you're watching us right now, we don't usually say goodbye at this moment. Dom, I'm going to step away for a minute. Maybe you talk to some of the chatters here. We have we have a couple people in chat on Twitch.
We've got three people in the chat. Hey, tell us in the live chat. Cheap Heat, what do you think of it? Were there any stories we missed? Were there any stories we covered that you had a different take on? Please tell us in the chat. As much fun as it is for John and I to talk about this stuff, it's also fun getting to know from the Don't Bury the Lead audience what you guys think of stuff. So please tell us in the chat. If you're watching this on the archived recording, tell us in the comments. What do you think of anything we went over today? Some of the injury news, some of the comeback news, some of the lawsuits and way out of the wrestling business news, some of the TV and entertainment and movie stuff. It's all fun stuff. That's what Cheap Heat is about. It's the stuff that takes place not in the ring and not on the wrestling programs that WWE and AEW and NWA and TNA put out. It's the stuff that happens outside of that may be of interest to us. What say you about it? This has been a neat week for me. I was most interested to see what would happen with LA Knight now finally getting a belt. It looked like he was pretty over on the program. Even though he didn't wrestle, he just came out to do a talking thing. I wonder what his title reign is going to be like. And I wonder if LA Knight becomes what Gunther used to be for SmackDown, where his is the belt now that gets defended on the weekly primetime television program. They don't save every Gunther match for a pay-per-view. He wrestled a lot on SmackDown, and he was our favorite guy. Because he put on great matches. It was for a title belt, and it was on free TV. It was on the SmackDown primetime program. I'm sure Fox also appreciated Gunther being a great wrestler who put on great matches on the SmackDown show rather than saving everything for a premium live event. I wonder if LA Knight becomes that guy now. where his belt is the belt that we see defended on the primetime show. I am all for that happening with LA Knight. He can wrestle. He's been doing it a long time on the indies and in other promotions. He's been a title holder. I want to see LA Knight become what Gunter was when we started Don't Bury the Lead.
For,
John, what say you?
yeah, for sure. And I know we typically do the Italian goodbye. We drag it out, but I have some baby John responsibilities I must take
Hey,
care
there
of.
you go. It's a beautiful Saturday afternoon. There's a lot for us to do. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody who's been hanging out.
Yes. So, Dom, thanks so much for doing this. I have like a minute here, so I'll give a proper goodbye.
Sure.
If you're watching us on the chat, it's really helpful if you go ahead and subscribe. We're up to about like 720 subscribers. Our next big goal, I would say, is 1,000 subscribers. Our long-term goal, that
Hmm.
because we hit one of our big long-term goals here, where we've been accepted into YouTube's monetization, the first level, so we can get super chats and membership set up. That's going to be down the road, but it's really encouraging for us to just kind of get from a point where we are having like videos that had 1 view, 2 views, 1 view, 0 views. And if it was 1 view or 2 views, it was me and Dom watching the video.
Yes.
We were the 2 views to kind of getting to the point where we're at. So thanks. It's really awesome for all the people that have decided to subscribe. If you are watching YouTube and you see smaller YouTubers, just realize like one subscribe could really make somebody's day. So uh,
Yes.
let's thanks so much for joining. Whoever here is watching, we are monetized. It's very exciting. I don't have champagne to celebrate it, but I will at one point bring out champagne to celebrate it. All right, Dom, it's been great chatting with you today, and thank you for all the help you do to kind of make this show put together, with kind of setting up Cheap Heat, with creating these backgrounds here, so we don't have just like the Ukraine flag that says Restream. It's a big upgrade from that. But all the Cheap Heat stuff, running everything kind of in the front end with the Smackdown, finding the articles. It's been great kind of getting there. We're almost at 2 years of doing this, which is
Almost.
crazy, you know?
Almost.
Yeah. Well, I said I wanted to get away. I had to get away quickly, and I super Italian goodbye it. So I'm gonna.
This is the segment for it.
This is the segment for the Italian goodbye where I said
Life imitates art.
when we were going to drop off, but then I waffled and drug it out. So, anyways, Dom, thanks so much for joining. And if you're on the live stream now, thank you so much for watching. And if you're watching it, in the past, thanks for watching. And have a great rest of your